right. So for the first time in a while, we are back for a little mini All-Star break. First half recap, second half kind of awards, if you will, for the New York Yankees. As we know, it's been a disappointing season for us Yankee fans. And if you don't feel that way, please let us know because it's been disappointing. But we have several awards to go through for the first half, and we also have one mini thing for the second half as well. But Luca, your first thoughts on the first half?
First thoughts, very disappointing. You think the Yankees are at the top of the division, or at least should be. Obviously, the Aaron Judge injury is one thing, but these players have not stepped up alongside Aaron Judge with him being injured. And there's no been one player that's really stepped up. Not even Stanton, not even LeMahieu, not even Josh Donaldson, not even whoever. So it's been very disappointing. You obviously want the Yankees to be in a better position. They are one game out of a wild card spot. They're fourth in the division behind the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Rays. So you definitely expect better, especially coming in the second half if this team really wants to make a playoff push.
They're also behind the Blue Jays. Just wanted to add that in.
Blue Jays, that was my mistake.
And yeah, you did mention that they're one game out of a wild card. So let's get right to it. And our first award is Most Improved Player. Now, the Yankees are in fourth place, so it's very tough to say Most Improved Player.
Right.
Luca, I'm going to go to you with Most Improved Player first because it's tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It's tough because a lot of these players have regressed, but if you have one in mind, throw it at us.
I'm not sure if I would call it a comeback season almost or most improved, but the name just jogged in my head, and I think it's Clay Holmes. He's been a hell of a lot more consistent this year, especially after a bad second half last year. And you're really getting more consistent outings from Clay Holmes, obviously in the closer's role. You know what you're getting from him day in and day out. But rarely been any blow-ups, but he's mostly been in control this year. So I'd say he have to be the most improved coming off the back half of last year. So that's what I would name for him.
You know, I probably would go with Clay Holmes. I'm going to be honest. I'm fighting between him and Tommy Kahnle because Kahnle was injured was most of last year. The dude's in his 30s and he's still raking. He has yet to give up a run at this point. He's 1-0, no ERA whatsoever, 16 games, 1 save, 17 Ks, and 15.1 innings pitched. So I honestly don't know if I'm going to go with Kahnle because I feel like he might be, selected for an award later on. And
that's what I think.
As I mentioned before, there's not too many players you can pick. It's not like there's an abundance. There's a small sample size of players that you pick and say, okay, well, this guy's, most improved player. By choice, I guess I'm going to go ahead and say Tommy Kahnle.
Yeah.
That's by force. I was going to select Clay Holmes. You took Clay Holmes off of the tip of my tongue. So I'm going to go Kahnle here. Because I didn't expect him to have this type of season. He's been one of the best arms, if not the best arm in our bullpen. And once again, it's very scarce when it comes to most improved player. So the next one, I'll start with you again. I think this one's a little bit obvious. MVP.
Well, if you're talking about hitting, it was obviously Aaron Judge before the All-Star break, obviously hitting nearly 20 home runs. Obviously, he got injured, ran into the Dodgers right field wall, the concrete wall. He got injured. Brett Boone was actually saying, I think it was today, that he should be back after the All-Star break, or at least immediately after, or something like that. He was saying some nonsense. But regardless, hitting wise, probably Aaron Judge, but pitching wise, I'd probably say Garrett Cole because he's obviously the dog, the ace. I think he's been that ace pitcher. I think he's had the best start as a Yankee. Besides that COVID season, he's had the best start of his best first half as a Yankee, in my opinion. Better than 2021, better than 2022. I think he's just been more consistent, and he's been that dog.
Yeah, not to mention he started the All-Star game. So I don't like to, not that I don't like to agree with you, but it's not fun to.
It's kind of obvious. Well, to be fair, Alex, it is kind of like the picks are kind of obvious. I know what you're getting at, and I completely agree with you, but it's like, who else do you have to pick, though?
Right, exactly. So Garrett Cole is going to be My pitcher MVP, 9-2, 2.85 ERA. I mean, he's already got a better ERA than last year, the year before. And you mentioned the COVID season, in which he had an ERA right around what this season is. It's just a .01 difference.
Mm-hmm.
Again, all-star appearance. He hasn't had that many shaky starts. And when he's had the shaky starts, it feels like the offense doesn't back him up. So it's
Right.
like a 1-0 or a 2-0 loss. So, with that being said, Garrett Cole is going to be my pitching MVP. My hitting MVP is going to be Aaron Judge because it's pretty damn obvious. There's nobody else on this team. Stanton's not doing his job. Anthony Rizzo has been struggling mightily since that San Diego incident with Fernando Tatis at first. It seems like that's the chain, the link to the struggles. Right. But this team does not know the direction of they don't have a path without Aaron Judge. I think that's the correct wording.
Not at all.
So Aaron Judge has to be the MVP. Has to be the MVP in terms of hitting. And I think he's the MVP of this team. I mean, you do consider that, okay, if Garrett Cole was not on this team would be probably under 500 or maybe even competing with the Red Sox for last. But Aaron Judge definitely holds a majority of the weight. MVP Aaron Judge. Most disappointing. I'll head to you on that one.
Ooh, oh boy, you can have a couple of candidates on this one. I'm not going to say Josh Donaldson because I didn't really expect him to have a big year. But I'm battling between a few candidates. I actually can't come to one consensus, but this is like a discussion between myself. Anthony Rizzo started off the year hot. He was smacking bombs. He was like 11 home runs at like combined between like the April and May, or at least the beginning portion of May and the whole month of April. He was hitting 300, 315, stuff like that. And then after Aaron Judge got injured, it was just a 40-plus point collapse in his batting average. It was ridiculous. He's definitely a disappointment for me. Obviously, I haven't broken down one candidate, and that is DJ LeMahieu, in my opinion. I think he's going to get my vote because I expected him to have a big year last year, or at least should I say this year, coming off of last year. I thought he was going to have a really good second half. He ended up getting injured with that toe injury. He just looks slower. He looks slower. He's not hitting the ball to opposite field as much as I want. And that's what he does really well. He would love spraying the ball over the field, left field, right field, center field, pulling the ball, pushing the ball, whatever. But he just doesn't have it anymore. And it sucks because I really like his style of play.
So for me, I was gonna think about DJ LeMahieu, but there's two other guys on my list that are very disappointing in my opinion. I think Jose Trevino, you usually don't expect pop off the bat of his, but to the fact that where they've considered Kyle Higashioka more sometimes in the lineup than they have Trevino is a little sad because Trevino, obviously last year hit really well, for the sake of his career, and, right in line with it. 248, 11 home runs, 43 RBIs. I mean, he struck out less, obviously, to start the year, 20 strikeouts. But you see the at-bats from Trevino, and it's just not there.
The plate discipline is so poor.
The plate discipline is bad. It was like those at-bats against the Red Sox. But I'm going to go with somebody else here. Now, obviously, he's in a contract year. He's not pitching well at all. I think you could guess who I'm going with. That's Luis Severino. Absolutely awful. 1-4, 7.38 ERA. There was a lot of speculation of whether he was going to be good, whether he was going to be bad, whatever. I didn't expect him to be this bad if he was bad.
No.
But 37 strikeouts. The opposing batting average is 315. 315. I'm going to try to look up the game log real quick while we have it here. Let's see. The month of July versus Baltimore gave up 7 runs.
He had a really bad start
versus St. Louis, 7 runs. He's given up 14 runs in 2 starts. You look at, let's see, other than the Texas game against Boston,
the Dodgers
8 runs, the New York Mets 5 runs, White Sox 4 runs, Dodgers 7 runs. I mean, he's not himself. I don't know what it is. Is it injury? Is it this? Is it that? Severino is not himself, and he is making the Yankees' decision a little bit easier to not re-sign him. And he's my most disappointing player off the first half, definitely. So there's that. LVP, least valuable player. Now, I guess for this one, you could also just go with players not just that have disappointed, but also like just generally suck, and you kind of knew it.
I was gonna say, like, regarding your last Severino point, that was he got the qualifying offer for last year from the Yankees, and obviously he was given another chance, but unfortunately he should just walk at the end of the season. But anyways, LVP, the bringer of rain, Josh Donaldson. I mean, I knew he was going to be bad, but he is effectively the worst player on this team, and how he's still on this team is a mind boggler. And it's like, I think the record still remains whenever he hits a home run, the Yankees always lose. And like, everybody talks, like, there's people talk about, listen, he has a good glove. We all know that. But the hitting's not there. The hitting's not there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not there. It's shitty skunk mullet, as Pete likes to call him.
Shitty
See, I'm
contract.
kind of debating myself because I don't want to go same again because that I don't really want to do that. It's between him and Oswaldo Cabrera because everybody was enthused by Cabrera last year and all these different things. He came up obviously before Peraza. And I mean, he had a good start to last year, and it looks like he was going to be a solid player, but he just jumped back down to reality. Now, I'll give him credit. He's hitting 400 over the last 7, but he cannot play the outfield. He's had several errors in the infield. He's not an everyday player, and I don't think he really deserves a spot in the big leagues. Now, if it wasn't for you saying Josh Donaldson, I would have said Josh Donaldson, but I think one of the other least valuable players on this team is Waldo Cabrera. 4 home runs, 19 RBIs, 204 batting average, 39 strikeouts. He had 44 strikeouts in 44 games last year. He's got more games, obviously, this year, this far, and 39. So I don't know if he's going to strike out over 100 times. It would be really embarrassing if he does. But the fielding is not there. The fit is not there. The hitting is not there. The plate discipline. I'm sorry. LVP for me is Ozzy Cabrera.
Fair enough.
Biggest surprise.
Finding a surprise on this team is shocking. Let's see. Trying to run through the positions. It's not easy, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Torres is not much of a shock. Rizzo's not much of a shock. Trevino, no. LeMahieu, no. Donaldson, no. It's like I have to go for one of the fringe guys, the role players. Like,
You know what?
possibly?
I'm going to switch my vote.
Okay.
Actually, no. I can't do that now. But I should have went for it wasn't least valuable, it was like most disappointing. I should have went Nestor Cortez.
For a pitcher, yes. For a pitcher,
I
yes.
mean, Sevy's been worse, but Cortez has been just as awful, but not just as awful, but he's been
I also think he's I shouldn't say he's a victim. He kind of is, but he's not. The major leagues have adjusted to him because he's very much on the off speed. He's an off speed reliant pitcher. He doesn't throw a lot. He doesn't blow you away with his fastball, and obviously that stuff sits in the upper. I shouldn't say the upper 90s, the lower 90s, but I think the league's adjusted to him, so it's not much. Like, it's still disappointing coming off the year he had last year, but still. And in terms of biggest surprise, that's tough, honestly.
I know who my candidate is.
I mean, Bader's been fine. Because could biggest surprise be a negative connotation or a positive?
If you want it to be, I mean, yeah, sure. I'm gonna stick with Canely.
Okay, that's fair because you think about it. The Yankees signed him to a cheap contract, and he was coming off of Tommy John, and he coming off injuries last year as well. But I guess he's played well. I'm not going to copy you, but I'm going to go with a negative connotation, and I'm going to say biggest surprise, Giancarlo Stanton.
You're expecting more?
I am expecting more. Because, everybody tells me and hypes me up all about, his playoff performances and whatnot, and how he's great in the playoffs. Last year, he had a really good season last year in the first half. All-star, we get that. Second half of last year, downturn. And he's not recovered since. And, again, it's next man up with the team that has to win a world championship, or is expected to at least. And Stan, you're paying this guy how many millions of dollars over the next couple of years, and he has not lived up to the hype. This year, at least. in my opinion. And they're barely playing him in the outfield, which the numbers show. He better offensively when he's in the outfield, but the Yankees continue not to do that. But Stan's definitely my disappointment.
Okay.
I
All
should
right.
say biggest surprise. Negative connotation.
Negative connotation. Biggest surprise, Giancarlo Sanfilippo. And I said Tommy Kahnle in a positive light. All right. Shifting to the second half. This is not necessarily an award, but it's a nomination, if you will. One player that needs to turn it around, or you're looking forward to in the second half, but most likely someone who needs to turn it around big time.
Needs to turn it around. You see, I was gonna say Volpe, but I think like when you mention, a player that needs to have a big second half, obviously Volpe is one of them, but he's riding off a really good back end of the first half too. Obviously, his teammate fixed his swing, the whole chicken parm. We all get that, but I guess Volpe because he's starting to, his average is around 230s right now, too late or like back high 220s, low 230s. Like I want to see that average go up a little bit. The power's there, we get that. The fielding could be better. The speed is there. The tenacity, the aggressiveness, the smarts.
Yeah.
I think Volpe's poised for a big second half. Not in terms of he really struggled obviously through April and May, but the end of June, early July, he's caught on, and obviously that's why his batting average is up and everything's getting better for him. And I'm not one of those people who has said, Volpe needs to be sent down. I said let him go through the process, and he's paid off towards the end of this half. And let's see, can he build off of that and continue to get better? Are these days rest, beneficial for him? Is Sean Casey going to help him out?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with this player for someone who needs to improve in the second half. This guy was one of my favorites coming in, and he's kind of downgraded himself to not one of my favorites. Ron Marinaccio has been surprisingly off this year. The whole bullpen has to a certain extent. He's 4-4, 3.60 ERA, 38 games, 2 saves. Now, you consider that it's okay, it's one of the better ERAs in the bullpen, but that's not what we're used to seeing with Ron Marinaccio. 47 strikeouts. In the last 7 games, he is 1-1 with a 5.68 ERA, 5 strikeouts, 6 walks, 4 earned runs, and 8 hits, and 6.1 innings pitched. If I go to this year, overall batting average against is 213, which isn't bad. And his last year ERA was 205. But let's look at the game log in terms of the last few games, right? So he got the loss on July 9th against the Cubs. Let's see what else we got here. Gave up a run against the Cubs the 2 days before, which was the loss again when Rodon pitched. Gave up a loss first game of the month against the Cardinals. Let's see what else we got here. Lost a game against Seattle, which I believe was that I forget which one, but it was towards the end of the Seattle series. Lost a game in Baltimore. So he's just overall not been himself. And I don't know how much the Yankees are going to press the bullpen at the deadline, but they need somebody to wake it the fuck up other than Tommy Kahnle and Clay Holmes. Peralta's been okay. I think he's been better than Marinaccio. King's been rocky. Hamilton's pitched like shit lately. Albert Abreu is not reliable at all. Ramirez has been okay, but you're not going to put him in these big leverage situations. So Marinaccio has to step up. I thought he was very good last year, over exceeded expectations, but for some reason he's sunk this year.
Can I ask a question?
To the tune of the bullpen. Go ahead.
And where is Johnny Loizaga?
Cornfields. That's what Pete said on the Field of Dreams rant 2 years ago, and I think Loizaga can't find his way out. So, and no, of course, yeah, Field of Dreams game. So nobody get any other insinuations. Field of Dreams game. Trust me. If you want to hear that rant, go to Pete's Field of Dreams game rant with Zach Britton and all that. But anyway, Luca, final thoughts looking into the second half.
Final thoughts. I hope the Yankees start getting aggressive towards the second half, shaping that they want to win a championship. I think the Yankees need a left fielder badly. I don't think bullpen help is much of his pressing need. Starting pitching, I think you have to look into at least. But let's see what the second half brings. I'm excited for the Sean Casey hire. Hopefully the Yankees let him, do his work because he's got a very good philosophy. Obviously, his days as a hitter, obviously his analysis on MLB Network. So that's, I think, one of the things that I'm looking forward to in the second half. But listen, the Yankees are one game out of a wild card spot. They're not out of it, but they need to play better and they need to raise the standards.
Yeah, bring the intensity. I'm excited for the Sean Casey hire. Go out and get a left. Go out and get Juan Soto. How about that? Just go out and get Juan Soto, and then Judge comes back, and you imagine that playoff lineup. But we appreciate you guys as always. If you haven't already, go sub to our channel, Big Blue in the Bronx, and also, NY News TV. Like, comment, subscribe to all the good stuff. We're happy to be here, doing the occasional twin bills, and of course, being on game season as well, and doing the quick takes. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Let's go, Yankees.